Hello all, Old Geek here, and in this video I'm going to be delving into the basic mechanics of the Middle-earth role-playing game, or MERP for short. For the uninitiated, MERP was based on the Rolemaster system, and was commonly referred to as Rolemaster Lite. It was percentile based, and it used a variety of charts to determine the outcome. Rolemaster was disparagingly referred to as Chartmaster from time to time. And Rolemaster had a lot of charts. Too many charts. MERP had quite a few, but not as many as Rolemaster. But it is still a bit of a chart fest. The topic of this video is to focus on a couple of the most used charts. The main ones that are used to determine the outcome of general adventuring tasks. The game terminology for these is moving manoeuvres and static manoeuvres, shown as MM and SM on the character sheet. The type you use depends on the action that is being undertaken. You roll percentile dice, you apply modifiers, and you consult the table. Simple? Well, not always. I'm going to start by reading out the example of play from the front of the game manual, or certain bits of it anyway. This is entitled A Sample Fantasy Role-Playing Adventure. There are 4 characters in the party: Aganar, a mage; Chintakari, an animist; Naug, a warrior; and Drogo, a scout. And it is presented in the form of a conversation between the GM and the party. GM, what's your plan? And how do you each prepare? Drogo, we are planning to scout out the tower for possible shelter. I will draw my short sword and move ahead of the others and scout out our route of approach, using available cover and moving as quietly as I can. Naug, I take out my crossbow and load it. I will cover Drogo and move up when he signals. Chintakari, I draw my mace and shield and will move forward when Naug does. Aganar, I prepare and cast a shield spell. So that it then details a little bit about the spellcasting procedure, though not enough. I'll come to that in a moment. GM, Drogo, make a manoeuvre roll to see how well you sneak up on the tower. He rolls a 47 on the dice. The GM rolls a 24 orientation roll for the orcs. This rulebook I've got here never tells you what an orientation roll is. I believe it's perception. Indicating to the GM that nothing is noticed by either side. You succeed and notice nothing unusual. You are now 10 feet from the tower and have a good idea of the layout. The rest of the group may move up if you signal. Drogo, I back up slightly so that there's a tree between me and the tower and wave the rest of the group forward. Rest of the group, we carefully move up. GM, each of you make a manoeuvre roll. They roll 86, 35 and 46, and the GM rolls a 62 for the orcs. Neither side notices anything, but the orcs are becoming more active and may move up the stairs and outside soon. You all move up and notice nothing unusual. Okay, I'm just going to quickly refer to this and discuss it. The problem with this introduction is it tells you what the players and the GM are saying to each other. It tells you the numbers they are rolling, but it doesn't say anything as to how the GM is assigning degrees of success and failure. It doesn't say what skills are being used. It doesn't say what tables are being used. It just gives the raw numbers. So, in essence, this introduction, it's not a good description of play. It gives you an idea, but it's not a good description of play. It's nowhere near the quality of, for example, the basic Frank Menser red box set basic rulebook, where the player's handbook in that told you from the beginning about making a character and leading you through a very early adventure. and it taught you the mechanics as it went along. This doesn't. It does continue on. It goes on for another whole full page, and there's a lot of mentioning of maneuver rolls, which is something I'm going to come to in a moment. But that's how it basically continues. Okay, so it doesn't explain how success and failure is resolved. But the other issue with this introduction is it gives the impression that dice are being rolled for absolutely everything that is going on. For moving maneuvers, this table I'm putting on screen now is the table is being used for many of the outcomes. The level of difficulty applied to the action in question is across the top, ranging from routine through to absurd. Now, I believe there are too many levels here, and that the game would be fine reducing that number to about 5 or 6. You've got hard, very hard, extremely hard. Isn't hard enough? And if you've got hard on there, where's soft and where's flaccid? Stop it, John. Stop it, stop it. Grow up, grow up. And also, say the naming isn't ideal. The lowest level is routine. Now, the issue is with using the word routine, because I would argue that if an action is described as routine, then no roll should be made. Having this classification there only reinforces the roll for everything approach. I don't play games that way. So how do you use this table? Well, okay, this is how it works. A player declares what their character is doing. The GM assigns the level of difficulty. Percentile dice are rolled, applicable modifiers are applied, and the table is checked. A result of 100 or higher on this table means that the action is completely successful. And yes, you can go higher than 100. It uses exploding dice. I won't explain what that means now, but most of you know anyway. A result of F is a failure, a fumble. There is a fumble chart to roll on. But any result in between F and 100 can be applied in one of 3 ways. It could mean the percentage of the action that is actually accomplished. It could mean the probability of the action being a complete success. You do another roll afterwards. Or it could show the level of penalty that is applied to anything attempted in the following round. For example, a 70 on here would give you a 30% penalty on the next round, 100 minus the 70 result. So which option to pick? Well, that does depend on circumstances. I do tend to lean on that first choice most often, the percentage of the action accomplished, because for me that's the most useful. If you're climbing a tree to get out of the way, if you get a result of 50, you are halfway up. There you go. That's an easy way of doing it. Or if you want to scramble over a fence, result of 50, you are currently straddling the top of the fence. You're halfway across. It's that sort of thing. So that was the moving maneuvers table. Now here's what is used in the game for static maneuvers. This is picking locks, finding traps, tracking, perception, interacting with people. Again, a difficulty level is assigned. Percentile dice are rolled and modifiers are applied. This time the difficulty level adds an extra level of modifiers, from plus 30 for routine down to minus 70 for absurd. Well, that's for the general column, which is the one you will use most often, most likely. There are other modifiers for the more specific actions. But again, why are we rolling for things that are classed as routine? And how do you differentiate between hard, very hard, and extremely hard? Results now fall into categories on this table. They're not percentages of amount completed. There are descriptions. And those categories are blunder, absolute failure, failure, partial success, near success, success, and absolute success. and the text in each box describes how each result is applied in game terms. Again, I've shown this table up on screen. It's not a great quality scan for this one, but I will zoom in on various bits and pieces. Now, most of these results are quite straightforward, though occasionally, depending on the exact nature of the situation, some mental gymnastics might be required. I am going to say now that the number of tables and the amount of page flipping to do all of this is a bit of a pain. So when I run the game, I have tables printed out in little folders. On that side, that's the moving manoeuvre table, and on the other side, I've got static manoeuvres. I do the same with combat, for example, as well. There's the to hit and damage tables, and on the other side, quick flip over, those are the critical tables, which are the most common combinations to be used together. And I find that does help with game organisation. So, next bit. How do character abilities come into all of this? Because in MERP, characters have skills. And yes, when the dice are rolled, the most frequently used modifier to any roll will be the character's bonus in the relevant skill being used. If a character has plus 25 to picking locks, then that is the modifier to be used when a lock-picking attempt is done in the game. And I mean, a lockpick is a static manoeuvre, so then you would apply the difficulty of the lock. The DM would assign the lock, say this is a medium lock, whatever the modifier is, and you'd roll the dice and then consult the static manoeuvres table. But there's an additional modifier that comes into play for moving manoeuvres, and that is in the form of encumbrance. It can have a significant impact on moving manoeuvres. Thus, the party's encumbrance levels do need to be tracked by the players and not hand-waved away, as seems to be fashionable these days. I do like the flexibility that this brings to play, as it makes travelling light desirable. It forces players to make in-game choices. Will we need to drop our packs in order to be able to make a jump or climb a tree to get away from pursuing enemies? Players are more likely to invest in draft horses and mules because the sheer weight of carrying their food and their water will have a significant impact on them completing tasks within the adventuring environment. So, do they take the risks? And that fits in nicely with the risk and reward element that exists in the game's combat, which is something I mentioned in my video on that subject. So the game is consistent. But what is my opinion overall of this whole system? Well, the numbers are hard work. These are not being resolved by 1d20 plus 2 and a target number. This is percentile dice, plus 35, minus 20, plus 12, maybe another modifier in there. And that's easy enough for me to do because I'm quite good at mental arithmetic at the start of a session. But after 2 or 3 hours of play of constantly crunching these numbers, it can become rather headachy. Well, that's one reason why I personally don't overdo the rolling. And when things are routine, I just let the players succeed because something is routine, as long as they're attempting to do something stupid. But of course, if they're doing something stupid, it's no longer routine. And I do often use other little shortcuts. For example, on the static manoeuvre table, I know the general tiers of success and failure. So I might eyeball a roll and make a quick assessment of the result without consulting the table and using the precisely defined outcome. It's all to keep the game flowing. Now, some might say, but you're not using the MERP mechanics properly. To which I say, I'm using the source material for the game, the combat tables, the classes, the races, and running things in the general spirit of the rules. And as long as my players are having fun, That's what matters. Plus, the rulebooks themselves do a pretty poor job of explaining all the stuff that I've gone through in this video, and I've only really gone through the basics. The rulebooks do not do a good job of setting out those basics. The examples of play don't go into enough detail of how the crunch is supposed to work, and some role types that are mentioned in passing are never properly defined by the rules. And the vague nature of some of the descriptions require adaptation by the GM anyway. So, as with the concept of initiative in AD&D 1E, I would come back to that statement with, what exactly is running the game by the book? Well, I hope this video was informative for you. I've been the Old Geek. See ya!